What does it feel like to be a teenager who no longer sees home as a safe place, where school feels more like a prison, and the only place you feel accepted is in a dark corner of a nightlife district in the heart of Tokyo?
40 minutes for 1,000 yen.
Masi takes us to a part of the city known as Toyoko Kids, a mix of permanent runaways and youngsters from the countryside.
This is the reality for thousands of Japanese teens, known as the Toyoko Kids. Young people who, in many ways, have slipped through the cracks of society, yet somehow find a sense of home under the neon lights of Kabukicho. Today, we're going to explore this surprising social phenomenon, not to judge, but to understand. How does something like this happen in a country as advanced as Japan? The name Toyoko comes from the abbreviation Toyoko, which means beside Toho, referring to the alleyways around the Shinjuku Toho Building, the iconic complex topped with a giant Godzilla head. Since the building opened in 2015, the surrounding area gradually became a popular hangout spot for young people. At first, nothing seemed unusual, just teens taking selfies in front of Godzilla. But then, the pandemic hit. During the lockdown period, many families in Japan were forced to spend long stretches of time together. And in many cases, it revealed struggles that had long been hidden behind closed doors. Family conflicts increased, and some teenage girls who had stayed silent for years felt they had no choice but to leave. One by one, they found their way to Kabukicho. They arrived carrying suitcases. They slept outside movie theaters. They shared food, shared stories, and shared their pain. According to the homeless outreach organization Japan Last Minute Push, which monitors the area, the number of teens has increased fivefold since COVID. Workers at nearby izakaya and bars began referring to them as the Toyoko Kids. What's even more surprising is that they're not just from Tokyo. Based on observations from researchers and journalists following the situation, these teens come from all over Japan, from Osaka, Nagoya, and even more distant cities. They hear about Toyoko through social media and decide that the streets of Tokyo feel safer than the homes they left behind.
Now, let's move into the data. And trust me, these numbers are not easy to ignore. In 2025, a research team from Keio University, one of the most prestigious universities in Japan, published a scientific study on the Toyoko Kids in the international medical journal Pediatrics International. They analyzed the medical records of 8 teenage girls, aged 12 to 16, who were brought to the emergency department at Keio University Hospital between June 2022 and August 2023. All of them were found unconscious in the Kabukicho area after consuming excessive amounts of medication or alcohol. And here's what they found. First, self-harm. About 86% had a history of self-harm. Compare that to the general population of Japanese teens, where the rate is around 4%. That means teens in Toyoko experience this issue at roughly 15 times the rate of their peers living in stable home environments. Second, history of abuse. Around 67% had experienced some form of abuse. Half had gone through physical harm, significantly higher than Japan's national average of about 4.1%. About 16.7% had experienced sexual abuse, compared to roughly 6.9% in the general population.
Third, family background. Most came from single-parent households, and more than half had severe school absentee records, meaning the education system had already lost connection with them long before they arrived in Kabukicho. Fourth, over-the-counter medication misuse. The most common reason they were hospitalized wasn't illegal drugs, but medications that can be purchased at regular pharmacies. This is important to understand. They're not accessing underground networks. They're using whatever is easily available to cope with emotional pain. And remember, this data comes from just 8 individuals who made it into hospital records. how many others were never documented? Meanwhile, data from the Japanese government shows that around 80,000 people are reported missing each year, and about 40% of them are teenagers and young adults. In Tokyo alone, an estimated 4,000 people each day spend the night in 24-hour internet cafes or temporary places to stay, sometimes relying on strangers offering help through social media. This reflects a form of hidden homelessness that often goes unnoticed in Japan. Although the National Police Agency publishes missing person statistics, there is no detailed data specifically tracking runaway teens. That makes it difficult to fully measure the true scale of the Toyoko Kids phenomenon.
So, what does their daily life actually look like? A Tokyo street photographer named Yusuke Nagata spent 2 years, from 2019 to 2021, documenting the lives of these teens. At first, he thought they were just a group of young people hanging out. But over time, he realized many of them had nowhere to go back to. They built their own community. They look out for each other. They share whatever they have. One of the most striking things, many of these teens don't trust adults. And not without reason. Their past experiences with family and authority figures have already damaged that trust. When police do find them, the options are limited. Return to the same home environment they ran from, or be placed in a juvenile facility described as overcrowded and empty, with little to do. So, they choose the streets. Out there, they feel safe. They have friends. They have a sense of belonging. For many of them, it's the first time they feel accepted for who they are. But of course, life in Kabukicho comes with risks. It's a nightlife district, with all the complexity that comes with it. Teens without stable income can become vulnerable to people who take advantage of their situation. Some end up working in parts of the entertainment industry. Others rely on connections from social media who offer them a place to stay, not always with safe outcomes. In response, the Tokyo Metropolitan Government opened a youth support consultation center in Kabukicho in May 2024. However, reports from January 2025 indicate that the center is still facing challenges in creating an environment that is truly safe and effective for the teens who need it most. The biggest question is, why is this happening in Japan? Japan is known as a highly developed country, with near universal literacy and one of the best healthcare systems in the world. But there's one thing that rarely gets talked about: a culture of silence. In many Japanese families, there is strong pressure to maintain appearances. Problems at home are seen as private matters, not something to be shared publicly. This creates an environment where serious issues can continue for a long time, without anyone knowing, sometimes without the child even feeling they have the right to speak up. On top of that, Japan has a social norm where children are expected to stay with their families until they secure stable employment or get married. There aren't many middle ground options for teens whose home environment feels unsafe. Child protection systems do exist, but as the study from Keio University suggests, the support these Toyoko teens received was often temporary and not enough to create lasting change. They fall through the cracks of the system. And that's where Kabukicho is waiting. The Toyoko Kids phenomenon isn't just a story from Japan. It's a mirror, reflecting what can happen when family systems, education, and social support fail to work together to protect the younger generation. These teens don't go to Kabukicho because they want a difficult life. They go because there's no other option that feels safer. And that's where the biggest lesson lies. A sense of community can grow anywhere, even in the most unexpected places, when people feel truly accepted. Our responsibility as a society is to make sure that sense of acceptance
doesn't have to be found at the end of a dark alley.